Hello and welcome to the Formula E Word. Now, this weekend sees the start of the 5th season of Formula E, and if, like me, this will be your first season watching properly or indeed at all, here is a guide to the basics you need to know ahead of the first race of the season. A beginner's guide, if you will. Yes, that's right, an FE beginner's guide from an FE noob. This could all go very wrong very quickly. So let's kick this off with some of the techie stuff if you like. So as touched on there, the 2018-19 season will be the 5th. The series was created to show the, quote, potential of sustainable mobility to help create a better, cleaner world. Season 5 sees the introduction of the highly anticipated Gen 2 car and with it, an end to mid-race car swaps as the new car has double the energy storage capacity of the Gen 1 car and thus can run a full race distance. The Gen 2 also boasts more power than the original cars with the maximum power up by 50 kilowatts to 250 and an increase of 67 brake horsepower, taking the total to 335. However, the maximum power available for the race is 200 kilowatts, which equates to 270 brake horsepower. That's up, by the way, by 20 kilowatts and 30 brake horsepower versus the Gen 1 car. If you prefer to work in speed, which to be honest I do, the top speed of the new cars is 280 kilometers per hour, which translates to 174 miles per hour. Now there are many out there who believe that Formula E is a completely spec series, but that's not the case. The chassis is spec, as are the tyres, I believe brakes, and the front suspension excluding the dampers. However, teams are free to design their own rear suspension, and the powertrain, which consists of the motor, gearbox and inverter, are all also open to development. When it comes to the tyres, there are 7 compounds ranging from the Hypersoft to the There is no range of tyres in Formula E. Michelin offer all-weather treaded tyres which are supplied to teams as standard. Also, drivers can only use a maximum of 2 sets, or as is stated officially, 4 new front and 4 new rear tyres over the course of a race event. I love that. So there are a few of the technical bits out of the way. There's so much more to it, but that's just the basics. And here is a rundown of a few other things you might need to know. As with F1, there are 2 world titles to fight for, and they are the Drivers' Championship and the Teams' Championship. And I'm not going to delve any deeper into that because I'm pretty sure you'll understand what that's all about. The point system is also the same as in F1, with 25 points awarded to the winner, 18 for second place, 15 for third, all the way down to 1 point for 10th place. However, it doesn't end there. Drivers are also awarded 3 points if they take pole position and 1 point for setting the fastest lap of the race. However, to get that point, the driver must finish in the top 10. Also, if the fastest lap is set whilst using fan boost, more on that in a moment, the time will not be taken into account. So what about the race weekend format then? Well, on the Friday before the event gets going proper, drivers take part in what is called a shakedown session. The session is used to check electronic systems and reliability, and it should be noted that this is not a measure of performance, as cars run at a reduced speed, with power also being limited to just 110 kilowatts. There are 2 practice sessions over most race weekends. That works out as an opening 45-minute session followed by a 30-minute session. But in the event of a double-header, the New York E-Prix for example, practice is reduced to 1 45-minute session on the second day of the event. Now, qualifying in Formula E is different to what we're used to in Formula 1. The session lasts for 1 hour, with drivers initially being divided up into groups, and I believe for Season 5 that's going to work out as 2 groups of 5 and 2 groups of 6, and those groups are defined by reverse championship position. Qualifying is split into 5 sessions, a session for each of those groups of course, and then the Super Pole shootout. When the group sessions get going, each driver has just 6 minutes to do a hot lap. However, with no recharging allowed, drivers really only get a single flying lap to try and set the best possible time, with the fastest 6 battling it out in the Super Pole shootout. Those 6 go out to set laps one by one, starting with the 6th fastest driver from the earlier runs, and as you'd expect, the fastest after all of that takes pole position and those 3 championship points. Races themselves get underway via a standing start, but drivers actually line up on a dummy grid before moving slowly into position onto the actual grid. For Season 5, there is no lap counter. Instead, races will last for 45 minutes plus 1 lap. This coming season, Formula E will once again be using fan boost, something that not everybody is a fan of. Fans get the chance to vote for which drivers they want to see receive the boost, with the winning 5 drivers, previously 3, awarded an extra burst of power. That power can be deployed in a 5-second window during the second half of the race, but on top of fan boost, there is something new coming to races for Season 5, and that is attack mode. Attack mode is something that will allow drivers to get an extra boost of power, but they will have to take a tactical risk, some may say a gamble, in order to get it. The new system will be available from the 3rd lap of each race, with drivers having to, quote, arm their car, which sounds awesome, before driving off the racing line and through an area marked out called the activation zone. By running through that zone, drivers will get an extra 25 kilowatts of power, which they can use when they want to race the competition harder, but it will only be available for a few laps. The number of uses, the minimum number of times a driver can activate it, and the duration of the extra power mode will be different at each event, with the FIA making the call just 1 hour before the start of the race. That means teams will have to think on the fly when it comes to factoring attack mode into their strategy. And if you're wondering what those lights on the halo were for, the halo will be used to indicate when a driver is using the extra power, with a different colour for each of the 2 power modes. So it's electric blue to signal when attack mode is being used, and magenta when it's fan boost. So Season 5 gets underway on December 15th in Saudi Arabia, that's this Saturday, and that's the series' first trip to the Middle East. It's then on to Morocco for the Marrakesh E-Prix and then Chile, before travelling to Mexico for the Mexico City E-Prix on February 16th. Next up, it's Hong Kong and China before the European leg gets going on April 13th in Rome, and then it's Paris and on to the iconic Monaco, with the E-Prix taking place on May 11th. Not a bad little run of races for a holiday crawl, that. Might have to sort my passport out. Berlin is the next destination on May 25th, before moving on to Switzerland for the Bern E-Prix on June 22nd. The doubleheader season finale is once again in New York, with races 12 and 13 of the season taking place across the weekend of July 13th and 14th. So last up then, it's the teams and drivers. There are 11 teams on the grid, each with 2 drivers, so that's 22 drivers. I can do some maths. Jean-Eric Vergne is the reigning champion, taking the title last year ahead of Season 4 champion Lucas Di Grassi. But here is your full lineup of teams and drivers for the 2018-19 Formula E season. I'm not going to go through them all because I'm sure you can read that, but I'll pick out a few. Audi Sport are your reigning team champions, and they've stuck with their lineup for Season 5. Lucas Di Grassi, Season 3 champion alongside Daniel Abt. Max Gunter will join Jose Maria Lopez at Dragon Racing. Jaguar Racing have also stuck with their lineup. Nelson Piquet Jr., Season 1 champion of course, will be teaming up with Mitch Evans. Jerome D'Ambrosio has made the move to Mahindra Racing, and for the first race of the season, he will be joined by Felix Rosenqvist, because Pascal Wehrlein's Mercedes contract doesn't expire until the end of 2018, and the German is expected to take his seat for the second race of the season in January. Techeetah have also stuck with their lineup, and that's reigning champion Jean-Eric Vergne alongside Andre Lotterer. Felipe Massa will be making his debut in Season 5 with Venturi. At Nissan E.Dams, it was supposed to be Sebastian Buemi, Season 2 champion, alongside Alexander Albon, but obviously we all know what happened there, and Oliver Rowland will be taking that seat now. And the Mercedes-backed HWA Race Lab are the new team on the grid, and they've taken on Gary Paffett and the highly rated Stoffel Vandoorne. So there we go then, that is it for the Formula E Beginner's Guide. If I missed anything you really wanted to know, don't worry if you even were, because I'll be back tomorrow with Dan for the Formula E Word Live, where we will be looking ahead to Season 5, making some predictions, and of course taking a few of your questions. In the meantime though, you can follow me over on social media. All the links you need are in the description down below. But as always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye bye.